Now, ground baiting or mass ground baiting is banned here at Himley Hall, but if you're going to fish the open-ended feeder, you're allowed to use a little bit of ground bait to plug your feeder up. I think, anyway, that's how it used to be. So I'm going to make up a bit of a mix now. I'm only going to use this to block up my open-ended feeder, but you could use this for fishing for tension crucian carp. It's one of my favourite mixes. Now, the first thing to do when you're mixing ground baits is to mix the dry ingredients. So you open the bag. I'm going to mix together here the brown crumb with the Expo, just a little bit of each. And basically, I'm going to mix these 50-50. Once you've poured them into the bowl, then you've got to really mix them up. Use your hand like a food mixer and really make a good job of this. And there you are. When you've done that, you end up with a nice, even colour, two well-mixed bases there. OK, now the next thing you're going to need is some liquid, and here's a little tip for you. If you're going fishing with sweet corn, don't waste the juice. Use it to flavour your ground bait because it's nice and sweet. It's got lots of sugar added to it. The point with sweet corn juice is that it's very sweet, it's ready sweetened and flavoured, and fish love to eat corn, so the juice makes a great liquid additive to dampen your ground bait. Add it a little bit at a time. Don't want too much all in one go. Now, when you're mixing, you need to really work the mix vigorously to try and get as much air into it as you possibly can. You want it to be nice and fluffy, not stodgy. Now, the liquid mix, you just sprinkle it like that across the ground bait. You don't need loads. So what we're trying to do is create a damp ground bait, not a really wet, soggy one. And if you mix it thoroughly, what you end up with is a lovely ground bait that you can squeeze together in one hand, but when you do this, it all breaks down again into a nice crumb with no lumpy bits. Real good fish attractor. Perfect.
Matt?
Yeah?
Have you got a disgorger?
Yeah, why?
I'm serious, I've got the hook caught in my mouth. Hang on. It's all right, mate, I've got it out. I've got it caught in my touch.
Well, I've rigged up for these Crucians with some tackle I haven't used for years, actually, one of these old floats. It's a very sensitive little float. We used to use floats like this when I was a nipper. And they're perfect for Crucians, actually, because they've got a very sensitive, fine tip. The thing with Crucians is they're very shy biting fish. So I've plumbed the depth to get it exactly right. So I'm literally fishing just a few centimetres over depth with the corn hook bait just on bottom. This is classic Crucian behaviour. I had my float sticking up out of the water by about a couple of centimetres, and I've got some little dibs and lifts. And you might think, well, it's just small fish knocking at it, but it isn't. I know that it's Crucian carp. I can just tell they're so shy. And one of the other reasons I know there are Crucians here is just at the back of my swim by the lily pads, I've seen some little clusters of bubbles breaking the surface. And I know that they're Crucian bubbles. They're a little bit fatter, if you like, slightly bigger bubbles than tench bubbles, which is more of a kind of Alka-Seltzer fizz. But with a Crucian, you get proper bubbles coming up. And I've even seen one break the surface. So it's got all the hallmarks of classic Crucian fishing, and they are so infuriating. They really are.
Hey, Matt, I've got one here. What do you reckon to this?
You're not going to count that, are you?
Not really. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
There it goes. Yeah. Yes, I'm in. I was flicking some little bits of worm out just past the pads and I could see fish taking them, so I shallowed up a bit. Just got about ½ an inch of worm on and here it comes. Here's the culprit. And as you might expect on a piece of worm, it's a perch. It's not a very big one, but very welcome all the same. Well, and luckily it hasn't done what most perch do. It hasn't swallowed the hook, and look at that barbly suck, it's just fell out, which is what we want it to do. And cracking little perch. It's not a Crucian carp. In fact, I think if I keep fishing worm, I'm going to get more of these, so I'm probably going to go back to bread paste. Perch just don't like bread paste, so I shouldn't get bothered by them again. Right, well, for a public park fishery, I'm very surprised how easy it is to get bites. Just let's hope the next one is the species we're after. Lovely clear water, just look at that. And off he goes. Perfectly camouflaged for when he's in amongst those lily stems.
Oh, look at this. Well, I've just dotted my float down till it was a mere pimple on the surface, and I've hooked a fish that's ramping around the swim. I don't think this is a Crucian. I think it's probably a tension. If this fish gets in the pads, I'm going to lose it, I think. It's gone right underneath the lilies. I'm managing to steer it through it. I'm sure it's a tench, the way it's fighting. Oh, I don't know. This might be a Crucian, you know. I think it is. I think it's a big Crucian carp. Oh, that's incredible. It looks like a real big fish. Really fighting hard. I've just seen a flash of gold, and it's boring down to get under the lilies, but I'm getting on top of it. It looks like a very good Crucian. Oh, I've got him in the pectoral fin, but it counts. Oh, yes. Oh, there we are. Now, that's what it's all about. A little dinner plate. Now, the Crucian carp is an incredible fish. Unfortunately, I've hooked it in the root of its pectoral fin. Now, you might be wondering how we can tell this is a Crucian. There is a lot of controversy currently about the Crucian carp. The first thing to look for is its rounded dinner plate shape. An elongated dorsal fin, that's very important. And look here, it's got no barbules. And the Crucian carp doesn't have barbules, whereas the king carp strains do. Well, I think I'm going to try for another one, because strictly speaking, I did hook it in its pectoral fin. But hey, everything's fair in love and a great rod race, isn't it? So I'm going to count it if I don't get another one, but I am going to try. And there he goes. Wasn't that a good fight? Fantastic. Forgotten how good fun Crucian carp fishing is.
Look at this, man. I think it's a roach. Oh, I've got a superb roach.
Oh, it's solid in the pads.
I reckon that's not far off £2. Look at that. If that's a roach, it's a big one.
Ah, come on.
Hey, Matt.
The one that got away.
It's well over £1 on a single maggot.
Nice job.
Well, that was a pretty short and sharp fight, and although the terminal tackle I'm using is quite delicate, I've got the right rod that's going to cushion the fight and allow me to put a bit of pressure on. And to be honest, pressure is what I really put on that fish to get it through these lily pads. Taking a look at it, I'm 99.9% sure it is a proper roach. It's got the downturned mouth, it's the right colour, the dorsal is in line with the anal fin, so I think we can safely say that is a roach. And not a bad one either. Getting on for £2, I would think. Now, let's get her back in quickly. I don't want to mess the fish around. Off she goes. Oh, she's going off like lightning. Come on, look at her go. Another job well done.
Oh, I think this might be a Crucian carp, this one. It's gone right under the pads again. Really difficult to get them out of this swim, and also to avoid foul hooking the fish, you know. But I've just switched over to bits of meat, and it is a Crucian. And he's under that pad, there he is. That's a super Crucian. And it's mission accomplished, folks. How's that? And let me tell you, we're rocking and rolling on this challenge now, because with each session, I feel we're gathering momentum. Now, let me show you how I caught the fish. But don't tell Mick Brown. The key is to make the setup as sensitive as possible. So what I'm doing is dotting the float down so there's a tiny little bit of the tip showing. I've gone down to a low diameter hook length. It's about 1.6 pounds breaking strain with a little size 18 hook. But the real key is to plumb the depth so that the bait is just touching the bottom. And when the Crucian picks it up, the float blips under. But you wouldn't expect a poor old devil like Brownie to have reactions quick enough to hit those bites. But he might do all right with the grass carp. Well, it's amazing, actually, that once you crack the method, the fishing just becomes so easy. Sometimes it's the small things in fishing, the little changes that you make. Maybe I should let Mick in on the secret. Fishing's too good to miss out on, really. Oh, that was a bite. Tiny little touch. Fought like a tiger. It's a lovely little fish. I think he's an old warrior, this one. Well, the Crucians are coming really thick and fast now, and this one's an absolute beauty. Lovely, delicate little bite, and a nice fish at the end of it. Well, I think that one, judging by the other one, is probably £2. Stand up.
Well, I'm in, and this might be my Crucian if I can just get it out of the weeds. Oh dear, it's looking a bit nasty. It looks like I've got my Crucian if I can just get it in. Please, please, please. Oh, I'm in a bit of a shambles, but I've got it in the net. I've got a Crucian, Matt.
I've got a fish right in the pads.
Oh, I've got a Crucian.
Well, look at this, Mick. I've got the other fish that Himley Hall's famous for. You've caught your Crucian.
What have you got, Matt?
And I've got a nice tench.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah.
tell you what, mate, we've had a cracking day's sport, haven't we?
I tell you what, I never expected a day like this. It really has been a fantastic day.
It has, in the middle of Dudley.
Yeah.
Right in the Black Country. It's a day ticket
Yeah.
fishery. That's the best part. It doesn't cost much to fish here. You can just turn up on the bank and come fishing. And I think with that, Mick, it's good night from me.
And good night from these pair.